Good morning, everyone, from the coastal marshes of Central Florida. I'm exploring a new area of the state today on the third day of our trip. This area has a lot of potential. There's a ton of species that could be in this area, but the big thing I'm hoping to see is a Florida king snake. Oh, brown anole. And sure enough, right there is our first herp of the day, a non-native brown anole. We saw a bunch of these yesterday and the day before, but I didn't get too much video of them because they were super skittish. It was really warm the last 2 days, and today it's pretty cold and windy. It's in the 50s right now, and it's only supposed to get up to around 65 to 67. So we're going to be walking around this beautiful marsh all day. There's plenty of birds to look at, plenty of other wildlife if we don't see any snakes. So it won't be the end of the world if we get skunked. It's a beautiful area. So hopefully we'll be able to turn up a few things though. So we're going to get to walking, and I will update you guys with our first find. All the brown anoles are out basking despite the cold and wind. So hopefully that means the snakes will be too. Caitlin just spotted our first snake of the day. There's a nice black racer in the grass right here. It's like straight up cold out here, and this guy's sitting out, so I think that's probably a pretty good sign. What's up, dude? This is actually our first racer of the trip. I missed him, but I see him still. He's right there. There's a horseshoe crab. We see these pretty often on the coast of Florida, but they're always cool to see. They're dead, of course. The live ones I have yet to see, and I would love to, but really cool animals, super unique. Well, there hasn't been too much snake activity. We saw another racer, but the shrike is just hunting right here along the trail and letting me get really close to him, which is really cool because normally you don't get to see these birds in natural habitat. You see them on fence posts and such. So it's kind of cool to see one out here hunting in the open marsh and letting us get pretty close to him. Really cool birds. It's been a great day for birds so far, not the best for snakes. Scratch that, we just saw 2 more racers right here by the shrike. So we've seen 3 racers in this little area. So maybe we're getting into some better snake habitat, we'll see. Look at that. It's a jellyfish. Just jellyfishing along. It's not every day you just get to see a jellyfish swimming around, at least for me. Whatever this species is, I've seen them washed up on the beach before, but I don't think I've ever seen them just doing that. It's really cool. That is so weird and cool. What's up, dude? Having a good morning meander through the marsh? He looks like he's having a hard time. Yeah. Here's another one. This one seems to be stuck in this little shallow area, so I'm gonna try to push him out of that hole. And hopefully when the tide comes in, he'll be able to push his way back out to the deeper water. It seems like a lot of them are just stuck in this kind of tidal pool though, which is unfortunate, but I don't know much about jellyfish. Maybe that's supposed to happen, but I feel like more than likely they're stuck. Hello, friend. That's a nice great blue heron doing his one-leg stance. These guys are super common here in Florida, and they're pretty common up in Georgia too, but always cool to see big, impressive birds. Well, it only took all day, but we finally got a racer in hand. We've seen, I think, 6 now, and this is the first one we've been able to get anywhere near catching. Even though when we started this morning, it was like 50 degrees and windy. But yeah, first in-hand snake of the day, 6th racer of the day, I believe, even though we haven't gotten a video of but one of them, I think, before this one, because they just keep disappearing into the grass. I actually flipped this one under a palm frond. If you'll notice right there, he's got a tick. Kind of interesting. He's been on there forever. You can tell he's nice and full of blood. But yeah, nice cute juvenile racer is our first in-hand snake of the day. What we might end up doing here in a minute is going inland to try to get away from this wind and see if that helps our herping luck, because it's been a pretty good day for all around wildlife out here. We've seen a lot of cool birds, but the snakes don't seem to be enjoying this wind. So I'm gonna get this tick off this guy real quick, let him go, and we might end up switching locations here in a second. All right, he's not appreciative of me attempting to get this tick. at that. Gross. All right, bud, put you back now that you're free of this parasite. Whoop. You see how quickly they disappear in this stuff. Excuse me, sir. I'd like to pass by. There's a giant alligator blocking the trail. What's up, dude? I literally can't get back to the car because of this giant alligator. We good? I want to walk by. Come on. Don't mind us, buddy. We're just walking by. Dude, that thing is so big. He's huge. He's just blocking the entire trail too. What a guy. I mean, we had to walk right there, just right past him. And as you can see, he just wants to lay in the sun. Doesn't want anything to do with us. So we're gonna give him his space and probably head inland where there's not as much wind. What an awesome animal. I could sit here and watch this guy all day if I had to. I could lay here in the sun and bask with him right now if I didn't have snakes to find. So we're gonna leave him to it. What an amazing creature. I like how we see no alligators all day. And then we just find a 10-footer in the middle of the trail. Like, this whole area is perfect alligator habitat and we haven't seen any. And then there's just a giant oaf in the middle of the trail. That's so cool. It's not very often I get to see a big alligator like this up close either. Normally they're pretty wary of people. But we're gonna give him his space and probably head inland a little bit and see if we can get away from this wind. All right, everyone, we are wrapping up the day here in Central Florida. We've been hanging out in the scrub that's more inland from where we started the day. And haven't seen much yet, so it's getting kind of late. We might end up kind of having a slow day here today. Well, that's okay, it was fun, even though we didn't turn up too many snakes. But if we don't see anything out in this area, I might end up having to check in with you guys tomorrow. So, but if we see anything, I will let you guys know. And if not, I will see y'all in the morning. Hello, everyone. We are back. And it is our last day here in Florida for this trip. The theme of struggling has kind of persisted throughout the trip, but we have been able to find some decent stuff. And we're spending our last day of the trip today heading out to the Gulf Coast in search of a really cool lizard that lives only on a couple of little islands off of the Gulf Coast of Florida. So we're gonna go look for those guys. It's called the Cedar Key moleskink. And there should be plenty of opportunity for snake bycatch in that area too. So hopefully we'll see some snakes in the process, but I will check in with you guys when we get to where we're going. All right, guys, so we are in the habitat of the Cedar Keys moleskink. All these little islands that you see out there are the keys that they live on. And they like to hang out in this sort of tidal debris on the beach. So we're gonna be walking around this type of habitat, hoping to see one of these little lizards today. And if we see any snakes, that'd be awesome too. So unfortunately, due to the location of this area, there is a pretty good chance that one of the hurricanes that came through a couple years ago took a serious toll on the population of these lizards because they live in this super coastal, like right next to the ocean habitat. And when a hurricane comes in and wipes away all of the habitat, all the microhabitat that they live in, which is kind of this duff, this kind of organic ground cover is what they use. But there's not much of it left after a hurricane comes through because it washes it all out to sea. So it's entirely possible that these lizards are not doing well right now. And that's unfortunate. But we're gonna poke around for the majority of the day and see how we can do. Well, there's our herp. Nice little eastern narrowmouth toad. Not a little one, actually. He's quite sizable. He's a handsome guy. Yeah. Wouldn't expect to see him on a barrier island like this, but here he is.
A cherry tomato.
Very cool. We got some little boards here, and then we got a big, beautiful king snake looking board.
Oh, dude.
Look at this thing.
Yeah. Go for it.
That is disrespectful.
Look at all the ants.
They're on me.
haven't put a YouTube channel. I didn't put anything on YouTube in like 8 months.
Well, you're getting a shout out. We're out here putting in the work for these skinks that we're not finding. All right, well, Jake just flipped our first snake of the day, and it's another one of these little guys, a Brahminy blind snake.
What can I say?
He's gonna get another one under there. Nope, just ants.
And a bottle of liquor.
Well, these little invasive buggers have been pretty common this trip. We saw one in the Everglades, and now we got one here on the Gulf Coast of Florida. This is actually probably the furthest north in Florida I've seen one of these. But these are a well-established invasive. Not much you can do about it, and they seem pretty benign too. They just eat ants, so.
And don't they stink?
Oh, they do.
Oh, they are one of the worst, dude.
I didn't notice how bad these guys stink.
Yeah, they're stinky bastards.
Yeah, if you took like a real close macro photo, you could see his eyes and his mouth. Well, even if we haven't seen too many snakes this trip, we've been to some really cool places, and this is one of them. All of these little islands out there are a potential habitat for the skink. Wow. Thank you. Look at this guy. This is a really strange little crab. We've been seeing these guys around, but this is the first one I've been able to catch. Really cool looking. He's kind of like foraging on my hand right now. All right, guys, well, Jake has struck our first native snake of the day. This is a little, what are these guys? What's the common name for these? Are these the Central Florida crown snake?
Yeah, Central Florida.
Central Florida. Yep. This is Tantilla relicta neili. And the fact that this guy has survived all the flooding from the hurricane is a very good sign that the mole skinks could have too. Because these guys live a very similar lifestyle. Whenever you're looking for mole skinks, generally Tantilla are one of the more common bycatch species. So that's a really good sign. We're gonna get some photos of this guy real quick. All right, guys, well, let's put this little Central Florida crown snake right back where we found him in this little area of pine straw and sand where he was thermoregulating. First native snake of the day. All right, everyone. Well, unfortunately, we didn't end up finding our target, but I had a good time hanging out with Jake today, and we did see a couple of interesting things in coastal Florida while poking around today. And overall, it was a pretty good trip. It wasn't as good as I was hoping it would be, but I think we did pretty well considering the weather we got stuck with. And if you'll notice, it's actually raining right now as we drive home through southern Georgia. So we're going to make a pit stop and look for salamanders. So I will check in with you guys when we get to the road. We're going to be cruising. The big thing we're hoping to see is some tiger salamanders. So hopefully they'll be out in this rain. It seems like a good night for them. So I will check in with you guys in a few minutes when we get to our road. All right, guys, here is our first frog of the night. I don't know exactly what that is. It looks like an upland chorus frog, but I'm not sure if we're in range. I don't think it's a southern chorus frog. That's what I'd expect to be here, but it sure looks like an upland. I do believe that is an upland. Really strange. This might actually end up being a kind of significant record. I'm going to take a quick photo of him and we're going to keep moving. It seems like stuff is out in decent numbers, but I'm just now getting into an area where I can actually stop and it's safe because there's been a lot of traffic tonight. So I'm going to get a quick voucher of this guy and get him out of the road. And here is another one. These are some really interesting looking chorus frogs. I've never seen anything quite like that. I definitely don't think they're southern chorus frogs, so they pretty much have to be uplands, but I had no idea we were in range, so it's kind of interesting. It seems like there's a decent amount of these guys on the road, so I'm going to move them out of the way and we're going to keep cruising, hoping for a tiger. All right, here's a bigger frog. This is looking to be, yep, that is a little bullfrog. Quite ubiquitous just about everywhere, so we're going to get him out of the road and keep moving. Never mind, because right up the road from him is a newt. Very interesting. This is actually a central newt, I think, in this area. But I could be wrong on that. I'll have to double check and I'll label it correctly. But that is some variation of a newt, which is kind of interesting. Not something I was expecting to see. It's a newt. Not nearly as colorful as the ones we get up north, which is what makes me think this could be a central newt potentially in this region. So either way, kind of interesting. First salamander of the night. Hopefully it won't be the last. So there goes a possum, and then we've got, let's see, that is another one of these weird chorus frogs. And Yet another one. These have to be uplands. Some calling chorus frogs over there. They definitely sound like uplands. That's another little bullfrog. And I think we had a frog behind the car too. Let's see if we can turn this guy up. Oh, that's a little salamander. It's another little newt. Look at that guy. He is teeny. It's a nice little wetland right there. It's not very often we actually get down into South Georgia to do amphibian hunting. So this is pretty exciting for me. Hopefully we'll be able to turn up something, you know, out of the ordinary, but it's just interesting to do this in new places, even if we aren't seeing our big target, which is the tiger salamander. I have no doubts they're out, so we're just gonna keep moving and hopefully we'll encounter one. All right, we got some sort of big jumping frog. Looks kind of like a tree frog. Oh, it's a cricket frog. We are, whoa, well within range of southern cricket frogs, which we don't see terribly often on the channel, even though they are very common down here. So kind of an interesting little amphibian that we don't get to observe very often, just because I'm not in range of them as frequently as I am the other species. But first one of those tonight, we'll get them out of the road. All right, here we have a little red centipede who looks very cold and unhappy about this weather. And, oh, that's actually a gray tree frog. I was expecting another bullfrog, but that is our first Cope's gray tree frog of the night. And very cold weather for these guys to be out in. It's actually unpleasantly cool out here, and that is not a bad thing in northern Georgia, but down south, these amphibians are a little more hesitant to come out when it's colder. Kind of interesting, but seems like amphibians are out in decent numbers, and we found a pretty good road, so we're gonna keep at it. Oh, we got lots of guys calling down there, and then right here, a nice southern leopard frog. First one of these we've gotten a look at tonight. These are another pretty common frog that we don't get to see too terribly often back home. They're not as common there as they are down here in South Georgia, but still a very common frog. They breed this time of year, probably between now and maybe early March. These guys will be calling. And they have a really low, snory call that's kind of hard to hear, so you're only going to really hear them calling when you're really close by. Alright everyone, well we are finally on the road home for good. Unfortunately we didn't see any tiger salamanders, but it is getting towards the end of their activity season. Especially this far south in Georgia, they're mostly active in November and December, I think. But it was definitely fun to explore a few new areas down here. Hopefully you can hear me alright because of the rain and wind, but this storm front that's coming in now is actually the beginnings of what's going to end up being a winter storm that will likely bring snow to the Atlanta area. So we might end up being out of commission for the better part of the week due to this nasty weather that's coming in. But it'll give me time to get in and sit down and edit these videos and get them out to you guys as soon as possible. And we'll just have to cross our fingers for warmer weather coming sooner rather than later. But yeah, it was a fun little trip to Florida, even though the weather wasn't super cooperative and we didn't really clean up like I was hoping we would. But we did see some really cool snakes, some really cool places, and had a really good time all around. So I'm going to wrap this one up here, and unless we see something on this crazy 4-lane highway on the way home, I will be seeing you guys in the next episode, which will probably be in Georgia.